All right, those past two games have been good. I'm happy with that. Yeah, let's get another one. See if we can keep up this streak. Let's keep the streak going. So we get a 22-13 Jose Leo. And let's play a solid game. I'm just gonna play knight f6 instead of my normal beautiful Dutch defense. Okay, I said solid, but if he's gonna play bishop to f4, I'll just play c5 because I really hate playing against the London. Now I'm wishing I'd played f5. My friend Freddie, the f pawn, is cursing me. Why didn't you play it? Man, chess is tough. So if I take queen b6, what's the idea? All right, let's just take it. Queen b6. Ask him what he's trying to do. Uh, my idea is simple. I just want to threaten this and this. So he goes queen to c2, but this doesn't convince me entirely. He does want to mate me, which is fair, but let's say I go knight to c6. And now my idea is putting my pawn on d5 and expanding fast. Uh, okay, so pawn d5. What's better between d5 and d6? That's why I need to decide. So they both have their pros and cons. Uh, d5 d5 is more in the spirit of the position. I know that's a phrase I say a lot. I'll probably get made fun of it more and more as the channel grows, but d5 really is more in the spirit of the position. Uh, that I want to take control of these squares. So now I wonder, can I play bishop f5? Takes, queen takes b2. That looks fine to me. I may just do it. I don't see any tactical refutation of this idea just yet, so I may go for it. All right, bishop f5. Let's see what he does. He may just take this one on f5 and start asking questions, but I think I have good compensation. Not even necessarily compensation because I'm the one who's grabbing the pawn there. So maybe he'll move his queen. Queen b3 is reasonable. On queen b3, I might be able to go knight b4. That seems reasonable enough to me. I don't see why not. If rook c1, maybe I have knight c2 check. Rook takes c2, queen takes b3 intermezzo. And after a takes, I have bishop takes c2. I know it's a lot of arrows, but if we get it on the board, I will definitely show it to you guys. Queen b3 though, knight b4, there is this bishop b5 check, which I have to be very careful of. So I'm tempted to play some sort of a6 move in the near future. Maybe after queen to b3, I take the queen, a takes, and a6. Yeah. A6 does seem like a move I want to insert, though. So basically, wherever white goes, I'm going to be inserting this a6 move. I'm not terribly worried about the bishop trade, so let's say white goes here and trades bishops. He's the one with pawns on dark squares, meaning that his light square bishop's really good, and I'm the one who's going to be putting my pawns on light squares, meaning my dark square bishop is good. So I'm okay with the bishop trade if we're doing light square bishops. Okay, so he does this queen b3, and I was saying that knight b4 falls to bishop b5, which appears to be the case. I think I may just take this queen and go a6. And he has knight b5 still, but I just go rook to c8 and I'm fine. So I'll do this trade and play a6. And now I want to go knight b4, rook c8, this sort of stuff. I think he might try to be cheeky and put a piece on b5, but I can just play rook c8. For those of us who are relative beginners joining in, the reason that putting a piece on b5 works out tactically is because if knight b5 and I take the b5 knight with my pawn, this rook comes down and takes my rook on a8. So that's why I can't do it. But rook to c8 just steps out of this pin, and I achieve a good position. So let's see what he does. I think that I'm already slightly better here. I don't want to be too presumptuous, but Basically, we have the same position, except I have one more piece out and his pawns are doubled. So I can't really complain too much here. All right, knight to f3. Now, can I go knight b4? Is he going bishop b5 then, or what? Yeah, I don't want to fall for bishop b5 is the thing. Also, knight b4 might not do much concretely because there's always like king d2 or something like that. So let me play the more concrete move, rook to c8. Knight b4 is more of a cheapo than anything else. But now I want to go e6, h6, bishop e7, and I want to slow play this, play against these two pawns. And basically, I am challenging white to prove that these pawns are not terribly weak. And I want to do something like bishop c2, although that's met with knight d2. But I basically want to play against these pawns. So I'll start with e6. This seems like a solid move, defending d5. Knight b4 is not off the table. Maybe before I do anything, I'll play h6 so as to give my bishop a retreat square. My opponent doesn't seem to be doing the same. I'll just go h6 with the idea of knight h5 next. And I just want to claim the bishop pair. So he goes h3, he's copying me. I'll go bishop e7. And yeah, I just noticed we have a completely symmetrical position almost, except for these guys. So I also like to talk about imbalances a fair amount. So when we think about the imbalances of this position, I mentioned that it's almost entirely symmetrical. There's no way for me to try and get the bishop pair somehow. So this position is just complete symmetry. So what I have to look for is maybe the one or two imbalances here. And in this case, there really only seems to be one, and it's these pawns. So either I play against these pawns and try to win, or white takes advantage of his imbalance, which is having the A file. But I think in this particular position, it's looking more likely that I'll be able to take advantage of my imbalance than white being able to take advantage of his imbalance. But my opponent is 22-13. That's respectable. We've just got to go for our plan and hope that our opponent's isn't better. My next move, I was thinking between king d7 and castles, but I'm leaning towards castles over king d7. In these sorts of, not endgames, but queenless middle games, it's pretty typical to just either leave your king in the center or even develop it a little bit to d7. But here it just seems safest to castle because my king on d7 with every single piece left on the board except a queen, it just might be a little bit vulnerable, especially I'm thinking king d7. I don't want to fall for any knight a4, knight b6. Whereas in these positions, if my opponent ever plays knight a4, I can place my knight on b4 and bring my rook in. So I'm not terribly worried that my rook's going to get trapped or anything like that. But if I did allow knight b6 somehow, my rook is actually getting trapped. Rook d8, bishop c7. So one thing to be very mindful of, not to allow knight to b6. And for that reason, I'm actually thinking that knight a4 is my opponent's best shot here. But he's burning a lot of time on the clock, which is probably somewhat problematic for him. I mean, he should just play knight a4 right now. But the more time he burns, the less time he has in more critical positions. In my opinion, this is not a very critical position. So the more time he burns here, the less time he'll have later. And that means that because I have such a sizable time advantage, I should try and create those critical positions. So I should try and create positions in which he'll have to think, but he has no time to do so. And the onus of doing that is on me. But let's see what he's thinking about. Okay, knight d2. This move is a little bit strange. I don't think he wants to play for this, but maybe he was worried about bishop to c2 unnecessarily. I think I can just castle. I don't see why my opponent would be overly worried about this because he always did have knight d2 to defend. But maybe knight d2 has some other idea. Maybe he truly is trying to go for e4, even though that in itself is quite difficult to accomplish. For example, f3, I just go bishop to g6, and if e4, I snag the d4 pawn. So he can't really do anything like this. And I'm already threatening knight b4. I might even do it in this position, knight b4. And that looks very solid to me. And there's this Karpovian idea that you can play your knight to c2, and then while the file is blocked, you take some time to double on the file, and then you remove the knight, and you have control of the file. So shall we play like Karpov? Knight b4. Let's do it. And it has this other idea of knight d3, just trying to get the bishop pair if bishop takes. So I would be okay with taking the bishop pair there. Yeah. Sorry, I have to text my brother real quick. All right, king to f1. Now knight d3 looks very powerful. Is there any point to this knight c2? Knight c2, probably not rook a5. Rook a4. Rook c6. But I have to be careful about e4 too. I don't think there's too much to write home about with this whole knight c2 thing. I think knight d3 is the better move, because now we are getting the bishop pair. Okay, now we have to try and capitalize on this advantage. We have the bishop pair. Now what can we do with it? Rook to c6 looks like a good start. Rook c6, knight to a4, rook to c8. That looks pretty reasonable to me. No straightforward issues with that, other than, I guess, no, knight c5 isn't an issue. Okay, let's put our rook on c6. I see this being a good move. I'm expecting knight a4 now. I think white has to try this. And there are no tricks like this, because my rook is defended on c6. Yeah, if it wasn't defended, like let's say this b pawn wasn't here, then and this king wasn't on e1, so I guess a lot of things have to be going white's way for that to happen. But this is a tactic to watch out for, where white has an intermezzo taking with check, but here it's not possible. So let's try to take advantage of our bishop pair. We have the two bishops. We don't want to give up the two bishops. Knight a4, I know I say I'm expecting it, but after rook to c8, I don't think white has too much. Maybe knight to c5 then, just saying, okay, have a pawn, and I'll try to prove my compensation and hold a draw. So that's very possible. Knight to f3 played. Okay, I guess taking advantage of this. That's an interesting idea. This is something I overlooked. And knight e5 is a very strong threat. Maybe I go knight d7 to deal with this, because I don't really want to displace my rook from c6. So okay, I'll play this knight d7 move. Probably king d2, this is what I'm expecting. And now bishop h7 looks correct. Maybe even bishop f5, provoking g4. But okay, there's no need to be too provocative. Just bishop back, maybe even bishop to g6. But all right, let's just play the safest move. I don't think we're encountering any back rank problems anytime soon. That would be the only real reason not to play bishop h7 if we're running into something on the back rank. But now our idea is the simple rook c8, double on the file. I think there's a chance that white trades everything in this position. Just moves the knight, takes my rook, replaces the rook on c1 with the other one, takes my rook again, and just trades everything. Okay, he doesn't, but now rook to c8, adding more pressure on the file. Knight a2 might be possible, but I think I have this. Do I? Rook c2, king d1 though. That's the problem. I actually don't have that. But can I try knight b6 there? All right, rook c2 is good enough to be worth a try. Now I guess If king d1, I need to protect this. Okay, he goes knight d2, surprisingly. I have to say I wasn't expecting that. Maybe I'll try this, knight b6. Okay, knight b6 looks like a good move. I'm just protecting the rook on c8 so that I can go pawn grabbing, if possible. Maybe rook b1, but white's position just looks very passive here. I'm not sure if I'd want to play the white pieces. I have this if he takes my rook. And if this knight moves, I can always exert pressure with bishop to b4. So, okay, he takes. I'll take back with my rook. Now I have pressure here and here. I'm expecting... Oh, wait, rook b1, I take on d2, so he can't do it. So there's no way to defend this then, because rook b1 is a blunder. But he only has 10 seconds anyways. I think this game is going to be ours. But yeah, okay, rook c1. I guess banking on some last minute back ranks. So rook b2, rook c7. There's really no need to take any risks here if my opponent has 7 seconds left. So I probably won't. I don't love resorting to flagging, but I'm better here anyways, so that's how I'll justify it. And I'll just bring my king and let him run out of time. But I think this was a good positional game from the black side. All right, we got a win. Pretty good positional game from the black side, I feel. We just played a solid game and let white make mistakes. It was a little weird right from the opening. Queen b6, queen c2. Knight c6 is just normal. And now d5. I was debating between d5 and d6, but it's fine. Okay, this is all good. And yeah, white really didn't make too many mistakes here. It's just that I was able to get the bishop pair right here after king to f1. Knight d3 takes the bishop pair, and now all of a sudden black is better, rook c6. And it's black who's applying all the pressure. So I'm not sure what this king e2 business was all about. The king should remain on d2. There's no reason for it to go to e2. But okay, this just helped me add more pressure. And here, black's already doing very well. This ending should be better with the bishop pair and also the undoubled pawns compared to white's doubled pawns. So another good game, which I'm very happy with. All right. Yeah, let's cut it here.